afternoon, everyone. I'm Felicia Malelli, Board Chair for New Jersey Public Health Innovation Political Action Committee. I'm joined by Board Secretary and co-founder, Katie Rivera. Hey, Katie.
Hi.
I'm going to shut off this background music.
Oh, yeah, we have some fun background music for our audience today.
So we're excited to be coming to you live once again here from the PacChat StreamYard studio to bring to you this 2022 congressional endorsement of Claire Gustafson from District 1. I'm sorry,
Just give us 1 second, folks, while we work on our music.
Okay. If this is your first time tuning in to the PacChat, welcome. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Let me start by bringing you up to speed with the NJPHIPAC endorsement process. This process was developed with a set of standards and integrity. Every endorsement we make requires a minimum that the candidate complete this and submit the NJPHIPAC survey and participate in an in-depth interview with the board of NJPHIPAC. Other factors and considerations are prior voting records of the candidate, if any, and their public positions and statements on matters that affect our mission and more. Ultimately, the NJPHIPAC standards are to endorse candidates with transparency, integrity, and measurement without bias, so that when you see the NJPHIPAC Gold Seal endorsement, the NJ voter, New Jersey voter, can be confident that this is the best candidate for our collective mission. Without further ado, I have the pleasure of introducing congressional candidate in District 1, Claire Gustafson. Hello, Claire.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Hi.
I'd like you to clarify the pronunciation of your last name because I'm certain I'm not getting it correct.
It's easy. Our daughter figured it out when she was in high school. Gust of wind, gust of sun. Gust of wind, gust of sun. So it's easy.
I like that.
There you go.
Thank you. So those of you who are unfamiliar with District 1, the parameters of that congressional district, those counties include Gloucester, Burlington, and Camden County. Did we get that correct, Claire?
That's correct.
Okay, just want to confirm with the redistricting, some of most of the districts shifted. So those 3 counties make up District 1. So if you're joining us from those counties, stay tuned and stay locked in because you're going to be meeting your medical freedom congressional candidate for 2022. So first off, I just also want to thank you for joining us. And on behalf of the PAC, the whole board of directors, I'd like to congratulate you on this endorsement, Claire.
Well, thank you so much. I want to thank you and your entire PAC of the board for wonderful conversation last week and for your endorsement. It actually gives me a little goosebumps to think about it right now. And I'm just so proud to have your endorsement. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So we're going to get started, and we're going to just start off with asking you to tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. If you want to mention your current career, what your involvement in politics have been thus far, your personal positions, anything you want to share, and most importantly, how you have been championing for medical freedom and parental rights thus far.
Well, I am a native New Jerseyan, if you will. I was born in Fort Monmouth. I'm an Army brat. I'm one of 8 children. My father was assigned to the Pentagon when I was 3.5. So I was raised in actually DC. I came back to New Jersey over 35 years ago to live here with my husband. I am a mother of 5, a grandmother of 16. My husband and I run a wholesale sales company, Gus for Kids. We are manufacturers, reps, and we represent small boutiques, small, medium, and large stores, actually, in the Mid-Atlantic states. My degree is in fashion merchandising, so I have been in the fashion field all my life. But for the last 30 years, it's been selling children's clothing to boutiques and department stores. I have been involved in county politics and local politics for years. I actually moved back to New Jersey to not be involved anymore. I was on the board of trustees of my high school, first alumni ever to be on the board of trustees in Bethesda, Maryland, actually Potomac, Maryland. But I came to New Jersey and immediately got involved in, of course, Little League and soccer and basketball because of the children. And I love coaching. I started coaching children when I was 16 years old. So my husband and I were very involved in the Little League and in the soccer league here in Collingswood. I ran for commission in Collingswood. I was elected to the Board of Education here in Collingswood, which I absolutely loved being on the Board of Ed. It was very, very satisfying work, and it was awesome to be able to know that you were doing what was really right for your kids. I've also run for other offices, commissioner or freeholder, if you will, and assembly. But I first ran for Congress in 2014. I was one of 4 candidates running in the primary. I came in second in that race. And after that, I decided that I wanted to get extremely involved in women, Republican women having a vehicle, if you will, to come together. So I got involved with the New Jersey State Federation of Republican Women. And it took me 3 years and working with them and working with the amazing women in Gloucester County. But I got a charter for Camden County, New Jersey, Republican women 3 years ago. And since then, we have over 60 members in our federation, plus another 10 or 12 men. We work together with the Gloucester County Federation, bringing like-minded women together. As of June 1st, I became the regional vice president of the Section 6 of the State Federation, which includes Camden County, Gloucester County, and Salem County. So I have felt in my heart for years that we can change the politics of South Jersey through the women. And that is so important to me. So in 2020, I ran for Congress. And my mission was it's the same then and it's the same now. I am being a mother of 5 and a grandmother of 16. Having raised those 5 children, I know how to say no. And I want to say no in Congress to illegal immigration, sanctuary states, abortion as a form of birth control, the attacks on our First and Second Amendment, no to illegal mandates, masks, and vaccine, supporting our police, making sure our children can get the proper education, actually the ABCs, the old-fashioned math, science, English, social studies, civics, which is lost from our children's education right now. So I ran on that in 2020, and I continue to run on that in 2022. People need to know that I am unapologetically Republican, a strong conservative. I'm a Republican because I believe in hard work, self-reliance, that is portrayed in the kind of work that I do. My husband and I do in sales. We rely on ourselves to sell our goods and make our income. The preservation of our Judeo-Christian values, smaller government, and free enterprise. I am a small business person. I want small businesses to succeed. New Jersey has more municipalities than any state in our country, and it's so important that we maintain these wonderful small towns that make us all unique, but yet link us all together. So I am so proud of this endorsement because I believe that every family, every person has the right to, pick their doctor, choose what kind of medicines they want to take, what they don't want to take, what's healthy for them, what's healthy for their children. And after what we've been through the last going on 3 years and seeing what has happened to our children being masked. They're now just finding all the other ramifications that our children have suffered having been masked for those 2 years, and in some places still being masked, that they haven't been building up the immunities that they needed to have, because children are germ factories. But in having those germs, they build up their antibodies. And now they're finding out that masking them has really hurt that process, their social skills. So your cause, I think, is linked to my cause, and I'm excited to be running for Congress this year. In 2020, I wanted to break a political cartel, the political cartel that controlled South Jersey, and I think that we did. Actually wanted to crack it, and I think we did. Having won more votes than any Republican ever to run in New Jersey's 1st congressional district, I'm so proud of what we accomplished. We earned more than 45,000 votes from voters that were not registered Republicans. That was wonderful to me, because it says a lot about who is voting for you and who believes in your principles. And it was because of this wonderful network of volunteers that we have developed now since 2019. And because of that network, we, of course, have a bunch of new officials in Gloucester County, the sheriff, 2 new commissioners, new senators, new assembly people, all of whom I know, all of whom I've campaigned for. All of want the same things we want: personal freedom. We want candidates that believe in our Constitution, will follow the Constitution, and not only of the United States, but of the state of New Jersey. So that's kind of a synopsis, and I've missed 1,000 things, but kind of gives you a lead in. I really feel strongly that having cracked the cartel in 2020 and beat it last year, that we can defeat this machine that controls our South Jersey, and send me to the White House, I don't want to go to the White House. I'll go to the Capitol, but send me to the Capitol so we can get our freedom back, so that we can be the United States of America in a house, the people's house, that is of the people, for the people, and by the people, not by the government. So important.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you for all your words too, touching on the mandates, both the vaccine and the masks. I think that there is a sentiment out there that, things are kind of ending and we're getting back to normal. But I don't personally see that as the case. I mean, I was even at an appointment this morning, and I'm seeing on the screen before me that only vaccinated people are going to be allowed to swim in a public pool this summer in Hoboken, New Jersey. So I think we're far from it being over. I think it's in some ways just getting started. And, we need strong voices like yours in DC to help us with this. So switching gears a little bit, can you tell us about your campaign in your district and what challenges, if any, that you're up against, and what will be your path to victory?
Well, my district is basically all of Camden County, 14 towns in Gloucester County. The other 14 towns are Congressman Van Drew's District 2. And then just 2 towns in Burlington. It's Palmyra and Maple Shade Township. But when I go to speak in Burlington, you don't really need to say just 2. Every town is important. Every town has constituents that believe as we do, and we just need to be able to get to them. And I think that every town's important to me. We have to look at what we have in Camden County. Gloucester County, we have such an amazing organization there. I am so proud of the people working in Gloucester County, for me, for the commissioner candidates, for council candidates. They've come a long way. And in fact, Gloucester County is now considered a +5 Republican county. Camden County is the challenge because, in my words, Camden County is the head of the beast, the head of the cartel. This is where the Norcross machine is extremely strong. And of course, the tentacles do reach into 2 and into 3. They are the Norcross machine supports Congressman Kim in Burlington County, which is why it's so important to defeat him also in the fall. But my strategy is very simple. We need to get back to literally knocking on doors. Of course, I have to raise money, and we can do this through ClaireGustafson.com. And anybody that likes what I say or believes in what I say or understands how conservative I am and what good I want to bring to our district, just go to ClaireGustafson.com and you can donate there, because money is important, because I will be outspent probably 6-7 to 1 easily. But what we want to do is get out there and get the message. Just like when you all were starting, it was so important for you to be on the steps of the Capitol building and fighting for what you have to fight for. We need to go out. I want to be out in every town. I want to be at every fair. I want to be at every parade. I want to be every place, but not just me. I want to be with the people that believe in what I believe in. So we have really strong municipalities here in Camden County. The Republican municipal chairs are behind me 100%. And we will be out knocking on doors. Very important to be down the Black Horse Pike from Gloucester City on down. We have this strategy. We want to be into Voorhees. We want to get as many votes we can get out of Cherry Hill, out of Pennsauken. But this podcast is so important because I can reach people that really don't know we actually have a wonderful group of people working here in Camden County. When people talk to you about Camden County, it's, oh, Camden County, it's so Democrat, it's so Democrat. In my heart, I don't believe the middle of the road or the Blue Dog Democrats believe in anything that the progressives are trying to peddle, or the woke cancel culture is trying to peddle. So hence I received those over 45,000 votes. So that's what we're building on. We know we have our base. We know we have a Republican base. And I know some of you are thinking, yeah, but that was the presidential year and it was President Trump and those people were coming out. For those of you who are saying that, I just want you to know that my campaign outperformed President Trump and our party's candidate for the United States Senate in 2020. So the votes we received were the votes that were voting for us because we are who we are. And that's so important.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. My next question is, when you're out there and you're knocking on doors and you're, being with the people, how has the issue around mandates and health freedom and masking, if at all, how has it kind of affected you and your conversations with your constituents?
My constituency believes that they have a right to choose. I mean, I think most of us were all in the very, very beginning this was before masking, by the way, when they asked us just to stay in, stay to yourselves until we can figure out what's going on. But then they went way, way, way off the tracks. And most of the people that I'm around, and including like a Senator Durr, who won his office last November, the constituents are they either want to get their vaccine, and that's fine. If someone wants to get a vaccine, that's entirely up to them. But it's not up to the government to mandate that you're going to get a vaccine. You have the freedom to do what you want to do to your body. And our science is cagey science. It's not good science, because they're saying for COVID, there's a science. But for all these other things, there's not a science. So how is that? And now they're testing. To my knowledge, from what I understand, and again, this is your field more than it's my field. When they test for COVID. I don't think they're testing for variants. And I too believe that a virus runs its course, becomes weaker and weaker, and is still trying to hang on. So you're getting these symptoms, cold-like symptoms and things like that, normal flu-like symptoms. And that's stay inside, rest if that's what you want. But don't tell me I have to wear a mask. I told you when we talked last week that I did get the vaccine, but my husband was extremely ill, had a cancer surgery and a heart situation. So I thought, okay, I need to protect him, So I would go along with that. But so many of the people I have been around since 2020 have had COVID, have natural antibodies. My husband was exposed to COVID. We had him tested. He never developed any antibodies, so he had false positives. So how many false positives do we have going out there? So I'm committed. Most of my constituency, the people that I am around, want to make their choices for themselves and for their children. Government, this is not government in the United States. This is not what government's for.
Agreed.
And they feel strongly about it.
Yeah. So can you help solidify for our audience and our viewers, what in the arena of health freedom, what was your aha moment regarding these issues and your need to be so vocal?
Well, I think I discussed a couple of them. I went with you that when earlier in my life, I had an allergic reaction to a sulfur-based drug, which was amazing. I mean, it was just, it almost killed me. And to this day, I'm obviously allergic to sulfur-based drugs, but the doctor prescribed sulfa for my glands being inflamed when I was a young mom. And I kept going out running and jogging, and my glands kept getting bigger. And I called, just keep taking that drug. Just keep taking that drug. Until it's gone, until the point where I was taking the drug and my husband had to literally carry me into the doctor's office because I was so weak with this severe allergic reaction. And good old fashioned Benadryl is really what cured me, and keeping it down with just old fashioned Tang. But that kind of taught me that you really need to know your body. You need to be aware of what's right and wrong. Now, going into that, I knew my mom was allergic to penicillin and one of my sisters, but I had taken penicillin when I needed it as a child. As an adult, after going through what I went through, knowing on a drug like sulfa, it almost killed me. I thought, I stay away from them. That was my big moment. And I go to my doctor. I go every 6 months. I don't take medications, and he knows it. I will do what I have to do unless it's absolutely necessary for me to take something. And we talk about it thoroughly. I had a horrible fall once, and I even taking that fall, I waited because I had some appointments that I had to do before going to the doctor. And the doctor wanted to give me a prescription for 800 milligrams of Tylenol. No, I'll take that, ibuprofen. And I said, is that the same as 4 times 2? And he said, yes. And I said, then what do I need a prescription for? Can't I just take the ibuprofen that I have? So I am very picky about that. That's me, but I have a good relationship with my physician. I take a lot of vitamins because I do believe through COVID, especially, that amping up your C, your zinc, and your D was so important. And I do that. And I also think going through COVID that if we have been told, go outside and get as much sun as you can, be in your backyards, play with your kids, make sure they're outside, that the spread would have been lessened too, because your vitamin D is, the best vitamin D comes from the sun. And I think I actually mentioned to you that my mother survived the Spanish flu in 1918, and by my grandmother just starting to nurse her again. She'd been weaned and got the flu, and my grandmother started nursing her again. And because of that, brought her milk back. My mom lived. But they didn't close government down. They didn't lock people up during the Spanish flu. Courts, business meetings, they were held outside, out in the fresh air. I think this was not science. This was politics, and it was power. And I think as we go further down the road, we're going to find out that it was a disgrace on multiple levels of what they've put the American people through.
Thank you.
And I'm not saying that people, elderly, the sick, I mean, I had 2 friends that I lost, and I'm not saying that it wasn't dangerous. I'm just saying that their science wasn't good science. And it's still not a vaccine. And I know you all can speak to that more. It's not like a polio vaccine that prevents polio. This doesn't prevent COVID, or we wouldn't have all these other cases coming up, right? For the people that are vaccinated. So anyway, that's how I feel about medications. It's a personal thing. Listen to your doctors, but be careful. Know your body. Know what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Oh, Felicia, you're unmuted.
I'm not.
Thank you, Claire.
Felicia's muted.
Yes, no, I was muted. Thank you so much for sharing all that. It really shows so much relatability from the issues that matter to so many of our community. Establishing and enforcing that doctor-patient relationship is essential. Knowing that vitamins and alternative ways could support the body and should be the government should act as a role model and show people how to really nurture and take care of themselves in order to prevent illness. And that was one thing that was missing 100%. So you really touched on a lot of issues that greatly, like I said, are relatable to our community. So thank you. And it just exemplifies even further why we are committed to endorsing you, because our endorsements are for candidates and incumbents who have the ability to have that foreseeing and to take that and create legislation that we need to advance and also protect our bodily autonomy in New Jersey and throughout our nation. So again, I'm really just reiterates this endorsement so much. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
So my next question to you, as you just kind of highlighted, that health freedom is a basic human right. And we believe that wholeheartedly, that it really should not be defined by party lines. As you can see with our endorsements, many of our endorsements through our voters guide are with the Republican Party. And but this issue is basic human rights. So it does transcend that. And so it's important to us as an entity and for our community base that we endorse legislators that will take their belief system and be able to reach across that aisle. So I'm just curious, from your point of view, what will you do to encourage representation of this issue, irregardless of party affiliation, to help affect change?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, there's already a law on the book that says that the federal government can't force you to invade. It can't be invasive to your body. It can't invade. You can't mandate that you have a vaccine put into your body. I think that law, like so many laws in this country, they're already on the books. Years ago, it used to be that prison inmates were actually tested for drugs. They used them basically as human guinea pigs. And that stopped years and years ago. But it stopped because it was challenged constitutionally. And it said the government has no right to do that. Military is a little different because when you're in the military, you take an oath to obey. But the bottom line with this particular virus, there is immunity. You have antibodies after you've had this virus. So many of these people that have lost their jobs, nurses, doctors, hospital workers, that took care of all the people that were sick and dying, have natural immunity to this virus, and yet have been fired or forced to leave their jobs when they're going to have antibodies from this for the rest of their lives. And the government knows it. So I think going to Congress, this is what we have to get back to common sense. Government, we already know the truth of this. We already know that the body builds up antibodies when you have the virus. And remember, I told you my husband got a positive test when we had him tested eventually for the antibodies. He had none, which meant he never had the virus. So go to Washington, and not just for this particular drug, but for any other drug that's on the market, And do not force people to take something that could hurt them. It has to be their decision. I was in the doctor's office once years ago, and he got a phone call, and he said, "Excuse me, do you mind if I take this call?" And I said, "No, absolutely not. Take the call." And he goes, "No, I don't want them to have that prescription for that child. That child is allergic to red dye, red food coloring. That drug, the generic drug, has red in it, and I don't want my patient to have it." So here was an insurance company calling a doctor to change a prescription that the doctor wanted for his child for money reasons or for coverage, when the insurance company is not the doctor. So you have a whole nother issue there. And that's got to stop, because he hung up the phone. He goes, "This is ridiculous. I mean, they're playing doctor, and I know what I want for my patient." So I think we have to go to Washington and look at these healthcare issues in a common sense way, and let Americans, smart Americans, we know what we want. We know what we want for ourselves. We know what we want for our children, and especially for our children. You know, they open up to us, and no one in a school or government or anywhere else has any right to touch your child, let alone inject them with something that they should not have.
Yes.
And I mean, if that legislation has to be written to be that simple, which basically is a whole nother situation, laws should be that simple. It should be that simple and say, this cannot happen. I would do that, because having things lost in drugs that are way too diverse and too many papers. Let's get back and remember, I told you, congressmen and senators should have to read a law before they can vote on it, because there's too much stuff put into a law that they have no idea, because they didn't write it in the first place. They may have sponsored it, but they don't write it. And then after everybody gets finished putting all their little odds and ends in it, no one knows what's in those laws. And they need to be more concise, more compact, and they need to read what they're voting on. It's just ignorant not to.
Yeah. We know, it can clearly sense your fire on the issue, and it's another reinforcement. I think what you were talking about before was the Nuremberg Code regarding trial, and it's all put in place, but somehow they're finding canals and ways to get around stuff, and still threatening to enforce, as we have seen through this last pandemic. So, well, thank you for that transparency. And so now we're going to move on to something we call the quick fire. It's a little fun. Just going to shoot you some questions. So again, increase relatability, get to know you on a personal level, and I'll get started in just a couple quick questions. So I'm going to start with, what was your first paid job?
Babysitting. But my real paid job would have been working in a bridal boutique.
Okay.
During the Vietnam War.
What's that? During the
Vietnam War.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, I was 16.
In a bridal store at 16?
Mm-hmm.
Or babysitting? Oh, okay. What is your current favorite restaurant?
Oh, that's a really hard question. There are too many good Italian restaurants in South Jersey to name just one, and we go to so many of them. But I'll tell you, there's a wonderful little restaurant, and someone, a lady that was really, really, really hurt during COVID. She actually lost her business and got back in the catering, and we were using her so much over the last couple of years. But the Wild Fig down in Blackwood, and she's not open all the time. I think she's open a little bit, but her story is amazing. Story of a woman that had a very successful business, worked with her adult children, and the governor closed her down like he closed everybody else down. She lost her business and was trying to claw her way back, and she's a wonderful person. But it's the Wild Fig and down in Blackwood, but there are just too many. I mean, that it's just too many. Bistro de Marina was in Collingswood. Actually coached my husband coached the owner, I think, in baseball. But the brother, we coached in the Little League. That's the wonderful thing about all these little towns, is that they're family owned, and like they are the mom's recipes. They use the mom's recipes and things like that. But there are just too many great restaurants in South Jersey to name.
I'm sure they're all going to appreciate this plug. Thank you. So tell us about your most favorable destination that you've visited.
Well, I travel for a living throughout the Middle Atlantic states. And then, of course, pre-COVID, we were going all over to sales meetings, California. But I'm not a big flyer. I don't like flying.
Okay.
But before my father passed away, I went to Florida every year, once or twice a year, to Orlando. My father's family farm was in Illinois. But my parents, when they retired from DC, they went down to Orlando, where we would go as children for Christmas to be with my aunts and uncles and cousins. And my parents bought my aunt and uncle's house. And so when my mother passed, my father moved to an apartment. And I told Roy, actually, he goes, let's go there. We can play golf, or let's go there. I said, as long as my father's alive, we will go to Orlando. We'll take the kids. They can go to where they want to go there, which a couple of the places I wouldn't be going now. But we did that so I could be with my dad. My father was an Army officer, retired lieutenant colonel, and he was the most amazing father of girls anybody could ever ask for. And so it was either be in Florida, or we'd go back to Illinois and visit him there too when he would go on vacation. But I love DC. I grew up there. I love what it was. It was a small town. Believe it or not, DC was a small town. But there's not a major city. Maybe a dream would be to go to France one day. See if my French came back a little bit, but. Well, I'm not a world traveler, and I think there's just so much in the United States. Why do I have to go someplace else? But I love the history. In fact, I used to read Gourmet magazine because it kept me so informed.
Okay, well, that actually brings me to the next question I was going to ask you. If you had who would be your most relatable historian?
My most relatable historian, or somebody I wanted that I love.
Person of history, yeah.
Politically, it would be Ronald Reagan. I had the opportunity to meet President and Mrs. Reagan. I had my store in Bethesda, and I got a call one day, and they went, "How would you like to go to dinner with the president?" I went, "The president of what?" She goes, "The president of the United States." I said, "When?" She goes, "Tonight." Oh. And I went, "What?" I went, "Don't think I have anything to wear." And a lady from the store next door said, "I have something for you to wear if you're going to go to dinner with the president of the United States." And I did. I went to the Hilton, actually the same Hilton where he was eventually shot. But there was a dinner there for Noriega, actually, I think at the time. And got to go to the dinner and meet President and Mrs. Reagan. And that was pretty exciting for me. I have this kind of weird philosophy about famous people. They're only as famous as the public wants to make them. And the bottom line is we're all the same. And growing up in Washington, because I did go to school with political children, ambassadors, kids, things like that. People are people, and you can listen and see a public image, but to get to know me is doing something like this, is getting to know me. You don't get to see the real people behind the facades of actors and movie stars and things like that. And I think our young people bank too much into seeing what they see on a stage and not really knowing what the person is. I think you can tell a lot about people, how they treat their children, or how they address their children, or how they address their parents. I think you can judge a lot about that. I knew some salesmen that a lot of people were like, oh, I don't know about him, but they saw his business side. I would be in his office working, and I saw how endearing he was to his children when they called, and even how endearing it was to his male children, and not being afraid to go, it's okay, dear, it's okay, and not just bud or whatever. I usually say bud to most of my boys, but it's that personal link, that's personal contact. I can watch you all and see you smile at what I'm talking about, and I can tell exactly what I'm talking about. You just learn a lot about people by just watching them and seeing how they interact with other people, and if they're kind and generous. And I think that I mentioned in our interview, somebody said once to me, I think I did tell you the story. I was at Merchantville Country Club where my husband and I belong. It was years ago when we first joined, and we were having a conversation, and one of the people turned around and said, what political party are you affiliated with? And I said, I'm a Republican. I've been a Republican all my, ever since I could vote. And they went, you're no Republican. And I thought that she was judging. I think she was judging me about how much I cared about people, or how I was talking about whatever I was talking about. Because I think people don't understand that Republicans are compassionate, giving, wonderful people. They're very, very generous people. And I think the press and a lot of people portray us in another light. But
by design.
I hope that answered that question. But Ronald Reagan, I did really, I had his autograph someplace. I don't know what I did with it.
You did answer the questions. Thank you. And also highlighted again for yourself who you are greatly, and what values mean to you. And I think a lot of that comes from all your experience that you described earlier on, the fact that you're a mom of 5, that you have 16 grandchildren, and, that says a lot. It defines you as a person. And I think that the person behind the issues and the causes matters greatly, to the extent that they'll be able to be successful. So, again, thank you for highlighting all of the about you stuff. And now I just wanted to ask the last kind of quick fire question would be, what does health freedom mean to you? In just a couple short words.
Health freedom to me is allowing me to decide what is right for me, as an individual and as a patient. I want to have the conversation, with my doctor to be able to decide what is right for me. And just like when you're educating a child, it's a different key that opens up the intellect of any one individual. When you're teaching, you have to have that one-on-one with a doctor to open up what is exactly right for you. For me, as you said before, I'm a big vitamin taker. I also know that, eating right, which I don't do all the time, but exercise, taking care of my body by exercising, so important for your mental health and for your physical health. But it's my choice. It's my body. It's my choice, with the decision that needs to be made with my doctor. And of course, as you age and you get a little older, you're going to end up with multiple doctors at some point in time. But the key is to having that one go-to doctor. That's so important. Now I think I learned from my husband, there are floor doctors. I had no idea what a floor doctor was until my husband got sick. And I called my doctor to find out who this doctor was, and said he was the floor doctor and what was he doing in my husband's room? And he's a great guy, by the way, this floor doctor. I really appreciate him, and he was wonderful to my husband. But I at least had to call, you have to advocate for yourself, right? So I had to call my doctor to say, who is this guy taking care of Roy, and what's his capacity? And he explained it to me. But I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. And before we start to wrap up and let you go, I just wanted to ask for you to communicate to our viewers any way that they can help you in this last short day before the final election day. As many of you may be aware, the polls have been open and will continue to be open through tomorrow. Tomorrow is the final day to get out to vote. So we want to make sure that everyone watching and gets out to vote, reminds your friends, tell at least 10 friends, we always say, to get
That's
out.
what we say. Yeah. Stole my word.
So,
But that's the most important thing. But
anything you want to
also,
share, Claire? Go ahead.
also what you have to remember, if you got a vote by mail ballot and it was sent to you and you think it was erroneous and you never wanted to vote by mail, still go to the poll and vote. Your vote will be counted. They may say to you, you were supposed to vote by mail. Say, I never wanted to vote by mail. I never asked to vote by mail. Of course, the governor and the county clerk in Camden and others did that for you a few elections ago. But you can go and you can still vote. And if they say you have to vote provisionally, vote provisionally. Those votes are counted. Don't let anybody tell you you cannot vote. And if you are unaffiliated and independent voter, don't think you cannot vote in a primary. You can. So I would encourage all registered voters to go and vote and cast that vote. And don't let anybody tell you no. And that has happened in the past. My husband just sent me a note about early voting, but I think that early voting is now done, and you have to rely on getting to the polls. They do open early, and get out there. And this is a primary, and this is a very important thing because we want to know where you are. We want to know if people received vote by. We know people will be receiving or had received vote by mail. If you still have them, and that's the way you want to vote, you can take them to your voting place. You can take them to the post office and have them postmarked, or you can take them to the Board of Elections. If you're worried about them not getting where they want to be, go directly to the Board of Elections, or go directly to the post office and have them postmark them right in front of you. They will get to where they need to be. But it's so important to go out and vote because this is going to give us a barometer of what we need to do in November.
Thank you, Claire. On behalf of myself and the board of directors of NJPHIPAC, we want to thank you for your voice thus far with regards to health freedom and parental rights, and congratulate you again on the NJPHIPAC official endorsement in the 2022 congressional races. We wish you the best of luck and in your race, and we hope we have this opportunity once again to support you in the general election. Thank you for joining us today, Claire.
Thank you, ladies, so much. I so appreciate each and every one of you, and I look forward to seeing you after the primary. And it's clairegustafson.com is the website if anybody needs. And my personal cell, by the way, is out there too. I have over 5,000 people I know already have it. So it's 609-332-9555. Not a problem, in clairegustafson.com. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you to our viewers for tuning in today. This concludes NJPHIPAC's up close and personal endorsement of Congressional District 1, Claire Gustafson. I wanted to make sure I say that correctly. We hope it is clear by now why NJPHIPAC has decided to endorse Claire in this upcoming primary election on June 7th. If you reside in District 1 or you have friends and families that do, please spread the word of how important it is to support this election. Please also check out our voters guide at njphipac.org/voters guide. We proudly present our endorsed candidates as deserving of recognition and support as the primary season comes to its conclusion. We hope that this work helps you to identify the best way to use your voting power to protect and advance health freedom here in New Jersey. It is not only advantageous, but imperative to have strong representation for New Jersey and our country. Our future and our children's future depends on it. The success of the PAC relies on contributions from individuals like you. Being a grassroots organization, we are by the people and for the people. Unlike pharmaceutical giants who have millions at their disposal, the PAC's efforts is a show of people, not just dollars. What we have is a movement of thousands whose passion to preserve our rights cannot be bought or contained. In the eyes of our legislators, contributions to the PAC equals voters, and that is a currency that money cannot buy. Every donor contribution to the PAC shows the legislators that we are a voting bloc and that our concerns should be taken seriously. So to become a PAC contributor, please visit our website at www.njphipac.org and make a contribution today. No amount is too small. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon, and we'll see you next time on the PAC Chat.
Yep. Stay tuned. We're going to be joining you with the next PAC Chat in just moments with Legislative District 7, Democratic Congressional candidate Roger Bacon. Thanks for hanging in, guys. We'll be back shortly.